3 times I went for help with injuries to a hospital, I was seen by female doctors. The last 3 times in different countries, all specialists. One was a cardiologist, one was a brain specialist, the other was, you know.
Yes, more than 50% of
and young women.
More than 50% of women. In law, it's even higher. These are critical professions. These are key point professions. I mean, they control the junctures of society. It's not a joke. So these guys, they sound insane.
The red pill, the MGTOW.
The red pillars and so on.
Yeah.
But they're not. Right. The prognosis is absolutely right.
Okay.
But the cause is hopeless.
They're
hopeless, utterly. It's hopeless. And what's the tactic? To withdraw, to disengage. I mean, who gives a fuck? I mean, don't fuck.
Yeah.
Going my own way. Go your own way. What?
it seems a strange conclusion to come to. They've said there's the problem, and as you say, they've diagnosed the problem. So now I just won't engage. I mean,
men going their own way. Go.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Go your own way. Who cares? You know. So it's hopeless.
Right.
It's hopeless because the fundamentals have changed already. That's it. You can't go back. There has been a transfer of wealth. Aggregately in some countries, not all, but for example, all of Scandinavia, women as a group are richer than men.
Are they?
Yes. There has been a transfer of wealth. 1. 2, we have moved to what Toffler called the third wave and so on. We have moved to a society based on intelligence. And so today the main commodity is not minerals, which requires muscles, not wheat, which requires muscles. No, main commodity today is information. It's an information society, intelligence, and so on. So we have moved already. We have moved to a networked world where the amount of connections and the ability to leverage these connections, make good use of them, is absolutely the key to your success. As I can see for myself, I'm very bad at that.
Right.
So, and these are all women domains.
Yeah.
Everything I've just mentioned, women are superior in all of these. It's too late. It's finished. Patriarchy is dead.
So the red pill movement, the MGTOW movement, it's in the purest sense of the word, it's a pathetic gesture. Last gasp of patriarchy before the inevitable.
Last gasp.
Yeah.
Pathetic. Last gasp. Is there anything can be done? No, of course not. There's nothing you can do.
On the subject of transgenderism, Peterson shot to fame because he famously refused. Jordan Peterson shot to fame because it was alleged that he had refused to use the new transgender pronouns. Apparently that wasn't what had happened. It was a little bit more nuanced than that. But would you yourself, would you be happy to use the new words that have been created, the new transgender pronouns like Z and Zer, if somebody asked you to?
It's precisely how I started my previous answer to you. People are confusing sex and gender. Sex is fluid. Everything is fluid. Everything is in transition. Sex is fluid. So in this context, I wouldn't be averse to using such words. Because I think the binary dichotomy between male and female is antiquated and completely out of sync.
Okay.
Even men have, we know today, have very powerful latent homosexual fantasies and sometimes experiences, and women, of course, lesbian fantasies. We know that it's mixed. We know that it's not as clear cut as we. Yeah. So there I wouldn't. But as far as gender, of course, I would be averse to this, because they call it transgender, but it's wrong. Transgender is about sex. Yeah. As far as gender, which is a social role. Yeah. And reflects the power matrix and underlying social trends and developments. There I would be averse to doing this. Because I think, exactly like Jordan Peterson, I said it before, that if we conflate and confuse the gender roles to that extent, we are doomed as a species.
Really?
Yes, that I agree with him fully. Not the archetype bullshit, but if we eliminate the gender distinction, not the sexual, the gender distinction between men and women, with their attendant non-patriarchal roles. In other words, if we eliminate the difference, if we eliminate all differences, we would, for example, not have incentive to procreate. We would not be able to collaborate and leverage the assets of both genders.
Right.
nature abhors uniformity.
Right.
The reason we all have sex
Yeah.
is because nature wants you to mix.
You need polarity for there to be
You
attraction.
need diversity.
Yeah.
Nature wants diversity. Nature encourages you. Listen, why not have sex with your sister?
Yeah.
She's available, she's immediate. What now? To go out, date, this, that. Why not simply fuck your sister and that's it?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's bad. Because it's essentially the same gametes, the same sex cells.
Yeah.
And therefore, it will fail. Eliminating differences, sexual differences, and so on, is a failing strategy in nature, at least. Nature frowns upon it. Nature encourages you to go far to find diversity.
So I should be as masculine as I could be, and then
Yes,
women should be.
but the problem with masculine and feminine is that it was defined during the patriarchy.
Oh, okay.
So immediately when you say masculine and feminine, it's patriarchal. Your association is patriarchal. I should be a man, should be a woman.
So does that need?
For example, when I say that the differences should be maintained, men are, women are much better at socializing and networking than men. I wouldn't try to force men to be the same. I wouldn't try to force women to be men.
Yeah.
On a biological level, women have a bit of a different, reduced, I would say, spatial perception of space.
Yeah.
Men are much better at this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't force, because there is this trend to homogenize.
Yeah.
Let's force them to be men.
Yeah.
For example, in the tech industry.
Yeah.
In the tech industry, there's now this movement. We must have a representation of women in tech. Tech industry is founded on exclusive male skills.
Right.
It's utterly a projection of male psychology.
Okay.
Males have natural competitive advantage in the tech industry. I would not dream of forcing women to work there or forcing the industry to accommodate women. It's bad thinking.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I don't believe in equality. I mean, men and women should be utterly equal, but different.
Right.
Equal, but different.
Okay.
Feminism and the current movements,
Yeah.
including Me Too,
Yeah.
they are trying to dispense with the difference. And that's what Jordan Peterson means when he says archetypes.
Yeah.
They're trying to dispense with the uniqueness, with the difference. They are not trying to modify social structures to gain quality, but they are trying to eliminate differences which are grounded in biology, in psychology. They're trying to eliminate what makes us different. And every single time in nature, when you eliminate differences, the population dies.
What? I mean, I have an idea why they're doing it, but what do you think? The feminism that you're talking about now is not the same feminism as academic feminism in the 40s and 50s. It's an largely seems to be internet based, and people just declaring they're feminist because they hate men. They want.
No, that's Nazi feminism. That's extreme. No, I'm talking about. Take this issue. Why on earth should women be represented in the tech industry? Give me one rational explanation. Why?
Do you mean artificially represented?
Yes, I mean like forced. I mean like must be quota of 30. Why? It's not built for them. It was created by highly specific, by the way, types of males, schizoid, and I mean.
I think I saw you write somewhere there was schizoid and possibly many are autistic or
autistic.
On the
Yes, it's a reflection of a highly specific male exclusive psychology.
Right.
What on earth? Why should women be there? Why does it reduce women or diminish women that they are not there? I don't understand that. And this is an academic movement. I mean, it started in academe.
Right.
Academe identified that in Google and Apple and so on, there is an underrepresentation. It sounds like a parliament, like a...
Yeah, it really does.
Underrepresentation.
So I'm being unfair if I try and draw a distinction between academic feminism, that's rational and reasonable and pathological, and internet feminism. You would say, actually, no. The academic feminism it's pathological.
No, some goals are right. For example, they say if a woman works 6 hours and a man works 6 hours, they should get equal pay.
I can't believe anybody would argue with that.
There are many argue with that. Because they say even economists argue with it. They say lifelong expectancy of productive work of a woman is much reduced because of childbearing. So actually the pay now reflects the woman's ability to contribute in the long term. Put it more simply, if I hire a woman, I know she will leave me in 2 years and have a child.
Right, so I'm going to pay her less.
As an employer.
I'm going to pay her less now.
So as an employer, I don't want to invest in her.
Right.
I don't want to invest in her. She will live in 2 years.
Okay.
So I give her a lower salary. It's like she's coming for fun, not to work.
Right.
While the man is committed for the next 25 years. He will stay in my company. He will acquire skills. I will use this skill, etc., etc. So some economists are saying because women go through periods of child rearing and childbearing, and therefore are absent from work, it's normal that they get compensated less. Because there's a theory called there's a theory that sort of amortizes wages and savings across life.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That makes sense.
Anyhow, but I don't agree with it. I think if a woman works 1 hour, never mind what she's going to do in 2 years. If she was working 1 hour now, she should be paid. So this is academic feminism, and I fully agree with it.
Yeah.
But I think they went overboard. I don't understand why women should be in the tech industry. I don't think they should. I think there is a serious risk, exactly as Jordan Peterson says, that we have crossed the boundary and we are now trying to eliminate differences. Yeah. That would be a catastrophe. Because species where the differences are reduced, we know that from biology, die out. Because they stop having sex. Because they stop having sex, the diversity, and also today we know, because there's a new emphasis on epigenetics, we know that environment affects genetic composition, which is later transferred to. So if we eliminate diversity in between genders, first of all, it will have impact on sexuality and of course on procreation, but I think it will also have impact on children, on your offspring. And diversity will go down and down and down until the species disappears. That's a serious biologically founded risk. It's not a joke. You mentioned some statistics to me the other day about the fact that already people are having sex less. Absolutely, sex for all practical purposes vanished. For all practical purposes. Right. Among teenagers, sexual encounters of all kinds, including French kissing, petting, all sexual encounters declined by well over 60% in the past 10 years. 10 years. 10 years. 60%. According to studies by Twench, Campbell and Martin. 60%. Dating has declined by 53%. Depends where. Yeah. In Japan, the figures are 80 and 90%. In the United Kingdom, 40% of all teenage males by far prefer video games to dating a girl. So sex is vanishing, and intersex attraction is vanishing. Why would I want to date a woman who is a man? I mean, tell me that seriously. Yeah. I mean, go into countries like United Kingdom, Scandinavia, and so on. Yeah. Some of these women are far more manly than me. Yes. Not some. What am I talking about? Majority of women look far more manly than me. And their speech patterns, their actions are quite macho and men, absolute men. Yeah. And they've adopted this posture of I'm also a man. Yeah. You're a man, I'm also a man. Yeah. And it's a huge pity. Yeah. No one tells you that you're not equal. Of course you're my equal. Yeah. With equal rights, you should get equal pay. I fully agree. I would support you in any way, shape or form to obtain these goals. But why do you have to be me? Yeah. I don't want you to be me. Why are you entering that space of... Yeah, why you have to be a man? I don't want you to be a man. I want a woman. Yeah. You know what? I just spent some time in the United Kingdom. I couldn't find a woman. I was not looking for a woman. I mean, I couldn't see a woman. I didn't see a single vagina-carrying container who I would classify as a woman. I mean, but I went to Russia, to a primitive area of Russia, traditional area, which is South Russia. Yeah. Listen, these are women. Yeah. They are hunter-predators. Yes, they're dangerous. They're histrionic, they're gold diggers. They want you for your money. Yeah. But they want you, bloody hell. Yeah. Never mind for what. It's a breath of fresh air. Yes. Finally, women. Yes. You know, they expect you to open the door, to give them flower. Listen, I'll tell you a story. Poor Vladimir Putin, first time and only time, I will call him poor. Poor Vladimir Putin was invited to a meeting with Angela Merkel. Yes. So he brought her flowers. That's what Russian men do. Yes. You should have seen the articles in Der Spiegel and others the day after. Chauvinist pig. He still thinks that women are inferior. He still thinks with flowers he can buy the soul of a woman. Fuck.
Yeah.
The men brought her flowers.
He did.
What the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, and when you go to Germany, the women are not women, and I'm not talking only about the fact that all of them have muscles, and forget all this. I'm talking about the body language.
That is a new phenomenon. Women bodybuilding. They love.
I'm not talking about that.
Yeah,
Okay, you can adapt somehow to.
Yeah.
But the body language, the exuded vibrations and communication, the expectations. Even before I met Lydia, which was almost 20 years ago, I used to live in the United Kingdom, in the West. I lived in Switzerland, Paris, United Kingdom. Listen, I've been castigated and rebuffed by women for insisting to pay for dinner. Or I have once been thrown off the stairs because I brought flowers. I mean, something is seriously wrong.
Yeah.
Something has gone seriously awry. There is a movie called, with Denzel Washington, Israel Jr. something, Israel Isaacs Jr. something.
All right.
Wonderful new movie, 2017. Israel Isaac something. I mean, you can look it up on
I'm a Denzel Washington fan. I'm surprised I don't know that one.
You're not? In this movie, he's great. Yeah. He's playing in the movie an autistic advocate.
Okay,
so it's professional education. Autistic advocate. And he's invited to give a lecture. So he comes to the lecture place, and he begins to give the lecture. And there's this hall, and it's full. And two women are standing. Two women are standing on the side. Beautiful women, young women, standing aside. So he says, gentlemen, and he's very gentle. He's not, he says, you must see this scene. He says, it exemplifies what's wrong with our society. He says to two men, would you mind giving them place? I mean, they're ladies. Listen, the so-called ladies, chauvinist pig, maniac. What do you think? We are weaklings? You think we are not equal to you? You think we cannot stand like you are standing? Fuck. I mean, I looked at it. I said, that's the perfect embodiment of everything that has gone wrong.
Do you not? I mean, I've found as well that all of that is true, and also that there is a hostility towards men as built into that.
That was to have been expected, because in every transition, there's always hostility to the previous masters.
Right.
Transition from communism, there was hostility to USSR, Russia.
Right.
Transition from, and so every transition you sort of, you must define yourself by opposition to the previous master, as a slave.
Right.
I mean, women were slaves.
Yeah.
Up to the end of the 19th century, they were registered as property, chattel. Literally, 2 beds, 1 mirror, 1 woman, 2 children. Women and children were chattel. They were transferable. There were transactions, by the way, in the 17th and 18th century, where men sold their women, wives, to other women. They were utter property.
Yeah.
So they were slaves, akin exactly to the black slaves in the United States. Look what's happening in the United States. I think blacks hate whites way more than whites hate blacks. Way more.
Based on my experience there, I would say yes.
I have received racist slurs from at a ratio of 10 to 1 from blacks. It is blacks who are writing to me that I'm a white cunt and this. White cunt, not cunt. Cunt is okay. White cunt. And I rarely get someone from a letter from a message from a white guy saying, these black assholes. It's rare.
Yeah.
I think racism is prevalent among blacks, not among whites.
There's a contempt there. You can see white contempt for blacks in America, but the aggression, the hostility seems to be.
In that sense. No, because you asked about aggression, hatred.
Yes, yeah.
So, because hatred of previous masters.
Right.
So I think women are like that. They are reacting with hatred to previous masters. We were their previous masters. We abuse them. No question about it. We misuse and abuse them.
There are still enclaves though, aren't there? I mean, here in the southern Balkans.
Sorry?
Here in the southern Balkans, there are enclaves where that hasn't reached here yet. Women are still acting.
There are enclaves. I said South Russia here.
Yeah.
In South Russia, it's patriarchy.
Yeah.
I mean, here it's the same.
Yeah. It's
strange because the West has made inroads, even, for example, In South Russia, infidelity and cheating are very high.
Right.
It's patriarchy.
Yeah.
The man is king.
Right.
But the wives rebel by cheating.
Right.
So these are the weapons of the weak.
Yes.
Cheating, passive aggression.
Yes. Yeah.
Passive aggression, manipulation, deceiving. These are the weapons of the weak. And you can't get rid of these weapons in one generation, or even as we see in the case of black Americans, Afro-Americans. It takes hundreds of years sometimes.
Yeah.
The weapons of the weak are with you, passed on from generation to generation for many generations.
Yes.
I see the weapons of the weak among Jews. Jews never think straight. I'm sorry to sound like an anti-Semite. Because they never think straight, they're brilliant. Because they never think straight, they're brilliant. They come up with new science, and they revolutionize physics and medicine, and because they never think straight. Everyone else thinks straight. They don't think straight. They think this way, as you can see from this interview. But that is the weapon of the weak.
Right.
You need to think, what am I going to do in this case, in that case? They multiple scenarios. And the same with women, and the same with blacks, and the same with all suppressed minorities. And especially if you've been suppressed for 10,000 years, it's not going to disappear in 100 years. It's going to be there. So women, I would say, are, for example, much more passive-aggressive than men, underhanded, deceitful, and so on. They had to.
Yeah, they can't be direct.
They can't. They couldn't have been. I mean, had they been direct, they would have been geschliffed. And the same with the black people. They have the weapons of the weak. Crime is a weapon of the weak.
Yes.
When you are underskilled, undereducated, it's a weapon of the weak.
Yeah.
It's a way to force society to reallocate resources using heroin.
Yes. Yeah.
So these are all weapons of the weak, and we are at a pivotal moment. We are exactly at the second, not moment, second of transition from male dominance to female dominance, when females have yet to adopt a dominant mindset.
Right.
They still have slave mentality,
Right.
but they are already dominant in many respects. So they are like, I'm dominant, but I hate him. And
what do I do with this?
What do I do with this? And they don't have the tools to cope with their newfound dominance.
That's the perfect description. Because when I'm interacting with women and there's conflict, because I'm trying to date, and there's weird conflict that comes out of nowhere, they appear to be shocked by their own hostility. They're hostile, and then they're like, what the fuck did I just do?
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to stand by it. I'm going to double down on it.
These are the true gender roles. I mean, what's happening is that males are becoming more and more slavish, more and more dominated by women, but they still have master mentality.
Right.
10,000 years of masterhood.
Yeah.
Master mentality.
Yeah.
So they rebel.
Yeah.
Fuck I talk about? I'm the king. I'm the patriarch.
Yeah.
But it's a joke. It's pathetic.
Yeah.
Men are pathetic.
Yeah.
And of course, it reduces sexual tension and sexual attraction, because who wants to fuck a pathetic person? I mean,
Okay.
majority of males are pathetic.
Okay.
So male are pathetic because they are slaves pretending to be masters, and women are masters pretending to be slaves. Not pretending, I mean, still with slave mentality.
Yeah.
You see that in, for example, post-colonial societies. In Africa, I worked for 4 years in Africa. I know Africa intimately. Wonderful continent, by the way, I love it. You see collectives. I wouldn't call them nations, because they adopted it from Europe. They declared nation states, but there are no nations. You see tribes or collectives who were subjugated for, let's say, 200 years, 300 years under white rule, sometimes rapacious and savage white rule, like the Belgians, which were much worse than the Germans, and so on. And then suddenly they gain independence. They are masters now of their own fate, of their own resources, of their own land, of everything, of others, other minorities. They're masters of, but they still have slave mentality. They behave like slaves, still.
Yes.
And you see this perhaps in Zimbabwe, where Zimbabwe is a unique case where whites used to rule, then blacks took over, but all the whites remained and they controlled big parts of the resources. And you have this slave-master interaction, and none of them got used to it. Not the whites don't know how to behave, the blacks don't know how to behave. We have this globally between men and women.
Yeah.
Sex will disappear because the foundations of sexual attraction are diversity and the recognition of this diversity and dignity, let's call it. Diversity and dignity.
Dignity.
there's no diversity and no dignity left.
We don't seem to be respecting
No
each other.
mutual respect. How can you respect someone without dignity?
Yeah.
And how can you be attracted to yourself unless you're a narcissist? So narcissism is rising.
Yes.
And homosexuality is on the rise.
Is it?
Nothing wrong with homosexuality, don't miss. I'm not judging. Homosexuality is on the rise. Homosexuality, psychologically at least, is a form of making love to yourself. So make love, if I'm a man and make love to a man, immediately there are some elements of making love to myself.
I've never had a gay friend, male or female, who didn't end up with a version that looked, I've even spoken to them about it. There was an Iranian girl I used to know, like, the girl that you've picked, the Spanish girl, she looks just like you. She says, I know.
Yeah, they're pronounced narcissistic elements in there. Now, I don't know if homosexuality is on the rise because people admit to homosexuality, because they're outing themselves more acceptable. And we know now that sexuality is biological foundation, it's not a choice, it's not a pathology, definitely. It's been removed from the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, thank God. So I don't know if that's the reason, but the fact is that people self-identifying as homosexuals have tripled in the past 20 years. So today, about 15% identify as homosexuals and another 15% as bisexual. But if narcissism is rising because diversity is disappearing, you're forced to make love to yourself.
Right.
If I see a woman that is much more muscular and macho and masculine than me, then, you know, I'm not likely to be attracted to her. Maybe I'll be attracted to an effeminate man who will offer me a female version, much more recognizable female version. So I think the changes in sexual orientation and sexual preferences reflect this warfare. And when there are similar cases in history, for example, the transition from matriarchy to patriarchy in ancient Greece, we saw homosexuality as a totally acceptable social alternative. Greek warriors went through homosexual rites. Greek
all the Spartans did.
It was part of the Greek students went to homosexual mentors. It was part of the education. So I think it's an indication of social dislocation, gender dislocation as well. It's an interesting period. I don't know how it will end, because some slaves never become masters.